Welcome to my channel, everyone. If you're new here, I'm your host, and today we're unraveling one of the most shocking cases of wrongful conviction, manipulation, and betrayal. What began as a brutal double murder turned into a twisted tale of mental illness, false confessions, and a hitman with a secret. This is the tragic case of Susan and Shane Hamwi. It was November 1983 when Karen Beebe grew worried. Her friend Susan Hamwi hadn't shown up for work, and she hadn't returned calls. Karen drove to Susan's home in Fort Lauderdale and found the door unlocked. Too frightened to go inside, she called police. What they found was horrifying. Susan's body lay in the kitchen, stabbed so hard the knife handle had snapped. A phone cord was wrapped around her neck. In the bedroom, her 18-month-old daughter Shane was dead in her crib. An autopsy revealed Shane had died from dehydration, left alone for days after her mother's murder. The home appeared ransacked, but nothing valuable was missing. Investigators believed the scene had been staged, and with no sign of forced entry, it was likely that Susan had known her killer. Detectives soon learned about Susan's ex-husband, Paul Hamwi, a Vietnam War vet with a violent past. The couple had divorced after a short, volatile marriage. Susan won a major court battle, securing alimony and child support. Money Paul was furious about paying. But at the time of the murder, Paul had been undergoing surgery thousands of kilometers away. He had an airtight alibi. Still, something didn't sit right. The case stalled, until police turned their attention to someone closer. 42-year-old John Gordon Purvis. He had red hair, schizophrenia, and a disturbing obsession with Susan. Neighbors said he stalked her, and Susan had grown increasingly uneasy. John lived with his mother, relied on her for everything, and had a history of mental illness. Police questioned him, but his mother demanded a lawyer be present. That slowed the process. Eventually, they intercepted John outside his pharmacy, alone. He was brought in and briefly evaluated by a psychiatrist.
You know why we're interested in talking to you, because you live in a neighborhood where a young lady was killed.
I know that.
Were you over at the house?
I was down at the house, yes.
Okay.
I did not kill the girl. I did not kill the girl at all.
Well, I didn't say that you did.
I just had a conversation with her.
What was the conversation about?
Nothing at all.
And within minutes, he confessed. He said he strangled Susan, stabbed her, and even mentioned the color of her underwear, something only the killer could know, or so they thought. In 1985, John went to trial. He recanted the confession, saying the police had promised to send him home. There was no physical evidence tying him to the scene, but the jury was convinced and sentenced him to life in prison. His mother never stopped fighting. She drained her savings, filed appeal after appeal, and in 1992, nearly a decade later, a new attorney re-examined the case. What they found was staggering. John got key details wrong. He guessed the color of Susan's clothing incorrectly. He said the phone cord came from his home. It didn't. He claimed multiple stab wounds. There was only one. The red hair on Susan's underwear didn't match his. There was nothing tying him to the crime. Detective Tim Bronson wasn't willing to let it go. While digging through old files, he found a letter mailed from Aspen, Colorado. It described a man named Robert Wayne Beckett, who had allegedly bragged about murdering a woman in Florida. Robert, it turned out, was an associate of Paul Hamwi. Robert confessed. Paul Hamwi had paid him $14,000 to kill Susan. Robert and his accomplice, Paul Serio, went to Susan's home, staged the scene, and left, never reporting what happened to baby Shane. That wasn't part of the plan, but Paul never cared enough to stop it. The detective asked Robert to make one final call, this time to Hamwi and Serio. The conversation was recorded, and it was damning.
I struck her from behind with the pistol to render her unconscious. When I did, she fell back and I put my hands around her throat. I was trying to choke her.
In January 1993, both men were arrested and later sentenced to life in prison. Robert, too ill to stand trial, died of cancer in 1997. As for John Purvis, on January 15th, 1993, he was acquitted and released after serving 10 years for a murder he never committed. He was reunited with his mother, but years in prison had left scars. He now receives ongoing psychological treatment. A mother was murdered. A baby died alone. An innocent man lost a decade of his life. All because the real killer was too close and too connected to be noticed. What do you think? Should police be required to include mental health professionals in all interrogations involving someone with schizophrenia? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime cases that uncover the truth, no matter how long it takes.